Former President Olusegun Obasanjo. We know that some attempts were made also during the time of late Yar'Adua. There were efforts, of course, to promote made in Nigeria goods. Some amount of money was even, invested for that purpose.
That's right. I continued up until the Goodluck Jonathan administration, and I think the Federal Ministry of Information at the time spearheaded the Made in Nigerian campaign. There were exhibitions of fairs regularly, and there was also a policy that Made in Nigeria should, of course, be patronized, ranging from not just the apparel, but also to cars made in Nigeria, including, of course, innocent vehicle manufacturing.
Of course, well, we do know that, like we said earlier on, that the sad part of the story we're talking about today is that most of the goods or products that we have are substandard. And it's also a sad commentary that Nigeria's manufacturing sector has developed to be able to adequately meet the demands of the, or rather has not developed to adequately meet the demands of the huge Nigerian market. So some marketers, driven purely by insatiable greed, are cashing on this lacuna by asking foreign manufacturers, especially those in India and China, to produce substandard goods at cheaper cost price. And of course, export same to Nigeria to make double the profit. What a shame.
Well, indeed, Claire, I mean, you're right. There's no doubt about it that the standard of goods or the quality of products that we get in Nigeria from outside, the standard is, of course, much lower than what you would find, even though manufactured in China. If you were to go into some shops in the U.S., of course, you'll find that these are top-grade items. But, of course, they come in here, and the quality is different. We've had the opportunity of discussing this, I'm sure you recall, with the High Commissioner of India to Nigeria, yes, and on Good Morning Nigeria. And, of course, there were reactions to say, look, these were underhand practices by certain manufacturers. But, of course, it is also obvious, as economists will say, that each time Nigerians import any single items, that means that you are creating unemployment back home, and then, of course, creating jobs for those who are outside. Of
course, and Kingsley, was still successive governments and federal and state alleged to have only paid lip service to the Buy Made in Nigeria Products initiative, as, of course, government spends billions of naira yearly to import luxury goods rather than patronize their local alternatives.
Patronage of their output.
Kingsley, questions begging for answers. Questions Kingsley and I do not have the answers, but of course we will be having guests who are knowledgeable in this area to talk to us today on this very important program. On this note, I'll welcome you once again to the program, the Breakfast program. Good morning, Nigeria. From wherever you're watching, it's reaching you live from here in Abuja on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Claire Delabu Abdul-Razak.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo, and I join Claire welcoming you also to the program, in the course of which we have our regular companion segments. And you know them already: newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and others. In the meantime, we're going over to the newsroom, and here is Larry Balahassan with the morning news. Hi, Larry.
Hello, Kingsley. Good morning and welcome to the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has arrived in Strasbourg, France on a two-day official visit. State House correspondent Adam Sambu reports that the president was received by the deputy prefect of the Alsace region of France, Mohamed Saadallah, Nigeria's ambassador to France, a delegation from the European Union, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Investment, Budget and National Planning, as well as other Nigerian government officials at the Strasbourg International Airport at about 10:30 Tuesday evening local time. President Buhari is in Strasbourg to address a special session of the European Parliament, the first by any African leader since 2004. His address is expected to focus on terrorism, violent extremism, the fight against corruption, challenges of security, as well as the need for greater support from the EU and other advanced nations for rapid resolution. President Buhari will also hold bilateral talks with the President of the European Union and the European Commission. Before departing for France, the President concluded a two-day visit to Ogun State, where he inaugurated a number of projects constructed by the state government. President Buhari says prudent management of resources, vision, Hard work and effective leadership are the factors responsible for the transformational changes in the provision of infrastructure by the Ogun State government. He said this in the course of inaugurating some legacy projects within Abeokuta Township.
So once some people started being overexcited and real stupid, I said, look, we fought a civil war for 30 months. We lost about 2 million Nigerians. And anybody who thinks he can joke.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has spoken out on the need for government to be deeply committed to the fight against corruption. Speaking as guest speaker at the Ibadan School of Government and Public Policy, the former president traced the root of poverty, unemployment and insecurity in the country to corruption.
It is clear that change does not just happen. There must be a basis for change. Leadership has to be committed to change. Beginning with the reality of the budget, there's need for sober reflection. If the current fiscal challenge is not creatively addressed, Nigeria may be on its way to another episode of debt overhang, which may not be good for the country.
And to judicial matters, the Supreme Court has upheld the elections of 3 governors. They are Governor Ibrahim Gaidam of Yobe State, Senator Abiola Ajimobi of Oyo State, and Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State.
What the Supreme Court has demonstrated is that it is not fair for parties coming before the tribunal, the candidate and the political party presenting one petition, losing at the tribunal, and then going to the Court of Appeal, just suddenly developing branches and tributaries.
The Supreme Court has only reaffirmed the position of the law, especially with regards to the Electoral Act, and nothing has changed.
Well, this is the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Whatever decision that is made here becomes part of our law. Our appeals were dismissed in respect of your governorship election petition on the ground that there shouldn't have been separate appeals.
I want to call on our people from Delta to embrace hand with the administration of Governor Okowa to move Delta State forward.
Also, more than a year after the trial of Honorable Farouk Lawan was told, the trial of the former House of Representatives chairman on education has reopened at the FCT court in Lugbe in the federal capital.
He was able to tender some of the documents, but he would deliberate on them at the next adjourned date.
There were several documents that were tendered through the state witness, and those documents had several legal defects upon which we raised objections. So the court upheld some of our objections and refused some. But having regards to the defect in their non-payment of the certification of a public document, the matter had to be adjourned to the 9th.
The Shiite Islamic group has submitted a counter-allegation to the National Human Rights Commission as investigations into the recent clash between Shiite sect and the Nigerian army continues.
The period of impunity is over. So we do hope justice is what the humanity is demanding.
The Special Investigation Panel have a responsibility of investigating allegations and counter-allegations of human rights violations. And I want to assure you,
the state government is fully supporting what we do. But a major challenge is the number of children we need to immunize. One of the problems, again, is the number of personnel we need to do that.
And in areas where they may see maybe challenges like case of rejection, they were able to tackle it because the team are there to respond immediately to any challenges that come up.
And that's the news. It's now back to Claire and Kingsley for the continuation of Good Morning Nigeria.
Laribala Hassan, many thanks to you. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Time now to take a look at the business stories, but that will be after the break.
Nigerians, Do you know the look of a suicide bomber? They're usually in loose or heavy clothing, usually inappropriate for the weather. They carry bags or packages. They tighten their hands or keep them in their pockets. They are unaware of their surroundings, always alone and nervous. They'll be found driving cars, moving very fast or extremely slow. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. If you see something, say something.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You get three kinds of moms. The paranoid mom.
It's hot and it's dirty.
The cautious mom. And the Dettol mom. Only a Dettol mom knows that ordinary soaps aren't enough. She only trusts Dettol to protect her family from up to 100 illness-causing germs, which is why you can worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Introducing the new Dettol 55-gram soap with the same germ protection and quality at a more affordable price. Buy the new Dettol 55-gram soap for 80 Naira only. Keep your family protected from germs.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
When you are at a state government or a local government, you are trying to plan and you are trying to figure out the resources at your disposal. It might be a good indication of what might come to you as a state or a local government or at the federal level to enable you to plan, particularly now that the country is facing challenges getting resources as a result of the drop in the price of oil.
Away from statistical matter now to the Central Bank of Nigeria, where the Apex Bank has disclosed that excess liquidity permeated the banking system reasonably well in 2015. In its half-year activity report in Financial Market Department, it's made available on its website. The Apex Bank noted liquidity was influenced by fiscal injection. Directors, auditors, operation managers, and compliance officers, as well as chief executives. The CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele had announced a new foreign exchange policy which included the stoppage of weekly dollar sales to BDCs. He offered the Apex Bank to henceforth discontinue sales of foreign exchange to BDCs. Operators in this segment of the market now source their foreign exchange from autonomous sources. However, the CBN is deploying more resources to monitoring these sources to ensure that no operator is in violation of the anti-money laundering laws of the land. And that's the package on the business news this hour. It's nice talking business with you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you, Sheon Ogunleye, for the business news. Now, still to come, newspaper review in a moment.
Okay, Bayo Toyobe, the Good Morning Nigeria newspaper reviewer, is here with us for today's edition. Bayo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin with stories that are common to the front pages of the papers that we have this morning. Daily Trust, the lead story for Daily Trust has a kicker. Biafra, militants threaten to blow up hijacked ship. That's the lead story for Daily Trust. The story is also on the front page of the Nation newspaper above the name flag.
Testified that the former DG for NIMASA, Mr. Patrick Akpobolo Kemi, and 3 others, awarded 3 companies a total sum of contract of 905.8 million naira without bidding for the contract. The witness said that the monies were even paid before they got confirmation of that contract. However, under cross-examination, the witness said he never met the DG, the ex-wild DG of NIMASA, and he, however, testified that a co-accused, Captain Ezekiel Agaba, was the one he discussed with verbally. The court has adjourned the case for further hearing.
Well, that story, of course, has the headline on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Okay. We got $905.8 million for no contracts, says witness. That's the headline. In terms of other stories, just below the name flag of the Nation newspaper, $2.1 billion arms deals. EFCC invites ex-CDS Bade, that's Chief of Defense Staff Bade. That's for the Nation newspaper. And then for the Daily Trust, we also have it below the name flag. Arms deal, 3 ex-army chiefs referred to EFCC. And then another corruption story, or anti-corruption story if you like, the Authority. That's the lead story for the Authority. All Nigerian leaders from 1999 corrupt, and that's attributed to Senate President Bukola Saraki. All Nigerian leaders from 1999 corrupt, Saraki. And
Naira, starched to his back, and very fierce-looking creature there with the devaluation of the Naira also trying to pull it. And you'll find the president, of course, with his horse-whipped cane called Koboko, sending the creature away. I won't devalue Naira, Buhari, back to sender. That's a huge story. All right, Bayo.
Thank you. Well, the statement from the Senate President is quite worrying. The perspective given by the papers are different. One puts it mildly by saying all of us are guilty since 1999. But the other ones categorically says all leaders since 1999 are guilty of that corruption. I think that is too much of a sweeping statement that some leaders who certainly are not corrupt will take serious exception to. But be that as it may, it is an era of anxiety, concern for corruption. The good thing is that at all angles, both at the executive and the judiciary and the legislature, they are all concerned about it. In fact, yesterday, the CGN of Nigeria also reiterated the concern of the judiciary about corruption. And so it is all hands now on deck against corruption. But however, let me quickly go to some other stories that came up yesterday, particularly court rulings. 3 governors have had their elections confirmed. They are Governor Ajimobi of Oyo State, Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta, Ibrahim Geda of Oyo.
Stories. Yeah. It's on the inside page of, again, the Vanguard. This one says, I was manipulated by evil spirit to kill my ex-lover, mother suspect. Let me just read a portion or two. He just said, I don't know what is wrong with me. I think I am possessed. I'm being manipulated by evil spirits from a shrine in my village to kill people. In all honesty, I am not a killer. Now, this one, Bayo, robbery suspect begs Governor Ambode for financial assistance.
And kidnapping. How long shall this go on? Terrorism is alien. Kidnapping is criminal. Cultism is barbaric. Nigeria is a blessed country. Support the Nigeria police and the fight against terrorism, kidnapping and cultism. Always inform the police of any incident around you. Say something when you suspect something.
Remember, we all have a stake in building a crime-free Nigeria of our dream.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
Why are you filming, Mommy?
To help people stop getting sick. People think it's the ever-changing weather during Harmattan that makes them sick. Actually, it's the germs. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs, including flu.
Dettol, endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
What are the attractions of Nigerians to foreign-made goods, and what could be done to reverse the trend? Finance and economy correspondent Shion Ogunoye tries to find some answers.
In the 1960s to 80s, made-in-Nigeria products were popular with Nigerians and many African countries, as big trucks came from West African, Central African, and East African countries to purchase products churned out from factories scattered in the various industrial estates across the country. Sadly, most of those factories, warehouses, and industrial estates have been dilapidated due to harsh business climate in the country since the 90s to date. These as Chris and on the international market.
No nation has been known to be great just simply because the people are good. But every nation is known by the quality of their products. I don't know any good German, but I know Mercedes. I don't know any good American, but I know Microsoft. So Nigeria is committed to excellent products and services.
As the global crude price continues to go down and with Nigerian economy facing challenges, experts emphasize the need for Nigerians to consume goods produced locally. They however stressed the need to improved quality of local products. They believe if Nigerian economy must develop, jobs created and poverty reduced.
Mr. Gumefo, thank you very much for this.
Good morning, Nigerians.
And also with him is Chief Eric Umofia, Managing Director, Erisco Foods Limited, popularly known, of course, we know that Erisco Bumpy fire, extinguisher that was made popular in the early 80s and so on. Mr. Mofia, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Right. Let's start. Kingsley,
and Remy, of course, in Lagos, for Man. These people, you speak to them, you hear what they say, they're motivating you to start patronizing made in Nigeria products. And that's what I'm doing.
The viewer listening to you would be wondering, here is a man who has spent almost most of his life abroad, in the UK, coming back home to talk about made in Nigeria products. What do you see that we are not seeing or they are not seeing?
You know what I think, Claire? I think that one of the reasons why I grabbed the mantle with
the complex. Objectively, this is what we have geared towards to give them orientation towards made in Nigerian goods. We started with organizing a local fair, tagged trade fair for made in Nigerian goods. That was in 2007. And after that, affected the production of these local goods. Most times when you try to talk about made in Nigerian goods, they tell you no.
All right, thank you, of course, Mr. Adiloba. Let's get to Lagos, where the Director General of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is Mr. Remy Ogumefo. Mr. Ogumefo, sometime in the early, 2007 to be precise, the World Bank ranked Manufacturers Association of Nigeria as the 83rd out of one shop. And again, the view here is that not because Nigerians are not patronizing locally made goods, but because the goods are not there.
We have heard this, and I think there's a need for clarification here. Nigerian goods, I can say authoritatively, because I go to factories. I visit factories on a daily basis throughout the country. And I can tell you that we produce very, very good products in Nigeria. There are problems about the products that you drink every day and beverages on your table. These are mostly Nigerian products. And textiles. Nigerian textiles are the best in the world. Cable. Nigerian cable has been reputed to be the best in the world. It can compare with cables that are used in America. It can also compare with cables that are used virtually in any parts of the world. So these are some of the issues that we need to engage ourselves in Nigeria. The problem is very simple. It's because of the taste of Nigerians. Nigerians like imported items. And I can tell you, many of these...
There, of course, is the Managing Director of Risco Foods. Mr. Eric Umofia, we had you on the program sometime last year. You did say that, for manufacturers, power wasn't your major challenge. all you wanted was for you to be able to sell your goods. Now, from what you've heard from the other guests, what is it that your marketers find as most challenging in pushing your products into the market versus goods that come in from outside the country?
Goods. Let us change today. I want the ministers, I want the governors of this country, I want the governor of the central bank, wear this and wear him, because he's making this policy to work. If not for his policy, I wouldn't have been able to discover new system we are doing now that will not put any, no need of imported foreign product in our own country again. Government pleaded with me, central bank called me and said, please, chief, we don't have any money again to give to anybody for food items.
Thank you very much. I realize that I'm the only public servant here, so I seem to have a lot more to answer to. But I think we need to take a different perspective to this challenge. Made in Nigeria is good, and we've always pursued it on the basis of patriotism. But, you know, we're all talking about global village. Tastes have converged. So it doesn't matter whether you live in London or in Lagos or in Kutipuba or whatever. And that's why I'm also happy with the Made in Nigeria Expo that is coming up. It's good to promote Made in Nigeria, but it's also better to ensure that those Made in Nigeria products meet international standards. We have now built what we call quality infrastructure. Because the issue is, if we do not make Nigerian products that meet global standards, people who are making those global standards abroad will come and take over our markets. And that's exactly what is happening today. And so my message also...
What has Sun been doing on its own to ratchet up the quality of the broad range of goods that we're talking about?
You know, the first thing we've done in the last 4 years is actually to create what we call a quality infrastructure. It's too technical, but I can say it's about standardization, it's about metrology to ensure that measurements are correct. Because I made a comment the other time that metrology is about
improvement. How might we get the government to, at all levels, to buy in this campaign? John Fashion.
Okay, I think number one, government has already. I think number one, government is one of the major movers.
Endurance.
Okay, and then the Twitter handle for the gentleman or lady, Flames. He said, we have a lot of creative people in Nigeria, but the problem is the poor finishing of their products, which again has to do with quality. We'll come back to other twists in the course of the conversation. And then just before we get back to those who are actually involved in manufacturing.
Not been able to standardize our goods to compete with the imported ones. I think Dr. Dumosi spoke to that issue earlier on.
Well, I think the point about patriotism was one that Dr. Odumodu, actually spoke to, that it is less a question of patriotism than you meeting global standards. So let's go over to the Enugu Network Center again. That's the Association of Made in Nigeria Goods. Chinedu Oba. Mr. Oba, the point about quality, but let's face this. Let's take, simple measurements, for instance. What is it that the experience has been with your members in terms of attitude? Is it that, okay, let's just produce this?
Is our government attitude, the government attitude towards these finished goods. Okay, recently, in my own state where I'm from, vehicles were given to the police. These vehicles were imported, but we have a manufacturer of Made in Nigeria, the first Made in Nigeria manufacturer of vehicles, innocent there. This attitude tends to discourage both the manufacturers and the end users. It's just a simple case of government playing exactly what they are preaching, doing exactly what they are preaching. By doing so, the end users will definitely see. It's a psychic thing. When you see
they'd always tight hand like blow, or even put their hand inside pocket like who called the mama. Hey, what? Side bomber like to tanda alone, they fear. And they know they send waiting they happen around them all. Sometime, then they drive motor fast, fiam. And sometime, now so they go, they drive slow, they terrage. If you shadow any kind load where they drop, or messing with kurukere waka wey not pure, abeg, me will report and give police or other security agent one time. The security of we country, na everybody hand it dey o. Nigeria, may we unite against terrorism. If una see something, may una
manufacturers take cognizance or research consumers' choice, taste, preferences before, of course, coming out with their products. Now, what do you do? Do you do research on consumers' preferences, or do you just produce and replicate what is done elsewhere?
Well, I'm aware that Nigerian manufacturers do a lot of R&D. They do a lot of research and also to see how they can develop their products.
We know that there are high-end manufacturers and there are also lower-end manufacturers. So the higher-end manufacturers, of course, will be more concerned about standards. But as MAN, what is it that you have done as an association to ensure that there is standardization in whatever goods are being produced, whether it's furniture, leather works, you name it?
Yes, you go into area of what we define in MAN as capacity building. MAN engages with what we can of these foreign products to come and compete with our products here in this country. That is where we are going, sir.
All right, let's get back to here, Abuja, where Dr. Dumoso is. Dr. Dumoso, just before we get to Mr. Omofe, who is in Lagos, labeling of goods produced here as if they were made abroad. Now,
then Nigeria is good to go. The challenge is they are afraid of, when you mention SON down the run, they think about costs, they think about maybe poor, lack of competence to meet
skill.
Yes, and skills, yes, and all that. So what we're doing now is we want them to work with us in the process of developing standards. What we've also decided is that every state, we will choose 20 SMEs. We will certify them. There are two levels of certification. We certify the company to ISO 9001.
Talking about, say, intermediate goods, that is not okay for one individual to be in the entire chain of the production process.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll come back, to this point presently because it's a very crucial one, because it also speaks to the level of our economic development, where everybody is self-employed and so on and so forth. But let's go back to our Lagos Network Center. Chief Eric Umofia, I hope by now less angry, having listened to the comments, of the other guests in the.
When you sell, you get money to expand, to buy better machines. When you don't sell, what do? I think if they are putting effort, if Chief Odumodi, if the same effort is putting now in telling us that we need to improve, let him put this 10% to make sure that foreign goods come into this country with these collaborators and the regulators are stopped and face the same standard that they require on paper. Then we can't complain. I want to tell you that food product you are eating there is here that is imported standard. We know the standard. We know that we've done. I have business in Angola. I have it in UAE. I'm sending my product to those places. If I'm not selling, I go in there. I standardize myself. I was the one that wrote to Son to come to inspect my factory. As DG doesn't go to his file. They didn't.
Okay, well, Chief Eric Umofia, thank you very much. Now, this question or this observation goes to both in the Lagos Network studio.
To change the psyche of our people, the way we do things in this country. I give you a very clear example. China, at a particular period in their time, even when they started their industrialization program, they were consuming only things that they were manufacturing in their country. They did not allow any products to come in. That's what they did. Japan did it. To some extent, India also did it. They were not allowing things to come into the country.
Let people, if this lasts 5 years and another one from Europe lasts 1 year, then we've won. Yeah. Exhibition, let's invite everybody there, all the stakeholders. Come, show what you've got, show who you are. Boom.
Right.
That's right. That's an aspect of marketing that we're talking about, the intrinsic quality. Doctor, let's come back to our Abuja studios. Final word from Mr. John Fashanu. Of course, you talked Exhibition is one of the avenues for marketing.
From the past. Harpic, all-in-one for you. Compared to all toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors. For a shining, clean, and fresh toilet.
Wow.
You should also take the
Harpic all-in-one challenge.
Would you like some water?
The foreign scene now, Donald Trump, Republican presidential race in Iowa. More of this with Yemi Ajayi.
Thank you and welcome. Texas Senator Ted Cruz has won the Iowa Republican caucus in the first vote of the U.S. presidential campaign. He took 28% of the Republican vote.
Veteran actor Solomon Sampa has died. The actor died Friday around 8 p.m. after he was rushed to Hollywood Teaching Hospital after a short illness. Emmanuel Sampa, brother of the late actor, confirmed that Solomon complained his health had deteriorated on Friday. He said the actor, who was aged 70, had not been well for the past 3 months. Solomon is well known for the popular Regional Arcs commercial and has starred in several movies, including Foul Play.
Cloudy, changing to partly cloudy conditions as the day progresses over the south. For maximum and minimum temperature, stay tuned.